Hi, it's Justin from AskJT. I want to talk to you today about efficiency. Most business owners think efficiency means doing things faster or cheaper. But what if that's just wrong? What if it's actually making your business worse? Today I'm going to show you the real difference between efficiency and effectiveness, using a story from my own GP surgery, a disaster at HMRC, and a few lessons I've learned along the way of running my business for the last 20 years. Look, if you care about delivering better service, then you've got to watch this video because, you might be in a situation where you're burning out, you're bleeding cash, so stay with me as I share these ideas. Look, let me tell you about my GP surgery. A few months ago, I came back from holiday and I'd had a suspected dislocated shoulder during a surf lesson. Bit of a nightmare. So I contacted my GP the first day I was back through their online form. And that was about 9 o'clock in the morning. Within an hour, I got a text message back saying I'd been referred to physiotherapy and someone would call me in the morning. It was about 11:45 and I was beginning to doubt whether I was going to get this call. But sure enough, 10 to 12, the call came in from the physiotherapist. What a delightful woman. She went through kind of talking to me about kind of my past medical history. And she said, I think we need to get you to see someone to be x-rayed. At the hospital, my heart sank. I just read an article in the press about 5-hour waits at A&E. She said, "Oh, don't worry, I can get you in at the local hospital and I'll try and book you an appointment." 5 minutes past 12, she rang me back and she said, "I've got you an appointment." By 2:30 in the afternoon, I'd been x-rayed, I'd been diagnosed and had a recovery plan sorted. And not only that, the next day that physiotherapist rang me again and just to find out how everything had gone and whether I was clear on the treatment plan. Look, in less than 6 hours from first contact to full diagnosis, I had this treatment pathway mapped out. And the key thing here is there was no phone queues, there was no 2-week wait, there was no faffing, there was no messing around for 5 hours down at A&E. And to me, that's smart efficiency. And it's not because it was faster, it's because the friction was removed. The system didn't just work for me though, it worked for them as well. The admin team at the GP, they weren't overloaded. The doctor didn't have to waste any time. It didn't even go to a doctor. And the physio got straight to the issue and signposted me really, really quickly. Look, contrast that with HMRC. A couple of years ago, during one of the kind of busy tax years, HMRC, they were, struggling for kind of a capacity and they're looking for efficiency savings. They're looking to cut costs. And what do you do in this situation? Well, you close your phone line, surely, don't you? What a disaster. They wasted, believe it or not, 700 years of people's time on hold in a year. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing. Higher error rates, more complaints. The average wait time for the call to be answered went up from something like 23 minutes to 27 minutes. And there was just less support. People were just really annoyed. And the problem is their vision of efficiency was about cutting costs, not improving outcomes. That shifted this kind of burden from their own staff onto the customer, and that's not efficiency, it's just lazy. And I see businesses doing the same thing all the time. They're shifting the burden from the kind of in-house, something that they were doing, onto their customer, and it's causing a problem. And what's the real difference we're talking about here is efficiency versus effectiveness. So let's clear this up. Efficiency is about reducing time, cost, or effort. Effectiveness is about achieving the right result. You can be, highly efficient at doing the wrong thing. I mean, it's true. You'd be surprised at how many businesses are kind of doing this. They answer emails quickly, but they're answering the least important ones first. They're automating reminders, but for the wrong clients. They're cutting staff costs, but end up losing customers. This is false efficiency. It all looks good on paper, but it's causing friction, it's causing frustration and failure elsewhere. And that's a big, big problem. And I think you've seen that, certain businesses have brought in things like AI chatbots. An AI chatbot might be able to signpost people to support pages and things like that, but for real customer needs, it's not necessarily going to resolve the problem, because you're thinking about efficiency and not effectiveness. So you've got to think really, really carefully about it. So how do you apply it in your own business? So let me give you a couple of examples about where I've done this in my own business. I think it's worked really, really well. My main business is running an accountancy firm, and there's huge amounts of client chasing. So I've automated it. When we send a request out to a client, until the paperwork has come into us, it's automated those chasing emails. Absolutely brilliant. It saves a huge amount of admin time, so my team can focus on advice. And that's the key thing. It's advice. They're really skilled people. They're highly paid. They're so knowledgeable. They're so well educated, and they're a brilliant team. And it's a complete waste of their time to be chasing people for paperwork. So automating something like that, because ultimately I'm not shifting the burden onto the client, because it's already the client's burden, and I'm creating an efficiency in my own business. Think about onboarding. I mean, onboarding is one of the kind of low-hanging fruit of efficiency savings, and that's also effective. Onboarding, there's a lot of admin on both sides for businesses, for client or customer, and for yourselves as well. And actually doing this really, really well sets up the relationship so well. Getting data put into systems. And I've automated a lot of this, but ultimately it's backed up by real people who know the client's names. And that's what you don't want to do, is you want to kind of, again, get rid of all of that admin, make sure data is being put into the systems automatically. We use things like client journeys on MailChimp to make sure our education is going out to them. Videos like this that I'm doing today, making sure we're reaching our clients and giving them new ideas and new information. But that's what we really want to do, is make sure that that is happening all of the time, as if by magic. But ultimately, we're here to support the people ultimately. And every time I make one of these videos, that's what I always think. I'm talking to some of my clients that I've got in my mind's eye, and I'm just wanting to help them ultimately. Think about compliance tools as well. If things that we've done in our own business is to basically look for items of busy paperwork, like processing purchase invoices. There's technology tools to just do that automatically for you, and there's all sorts of tech out there that can do that. I'm a huge tech advocate, so go and investigate some of those tech tools. With the advent of AI, it's never been a better time to kind of look at those sorts of things, and it's what AI is really great at doing. It's not very good at necessarily dealing with human beings, but actually doing repetitive automated tasks. Absolutely wonderful. But remember, my goal here is not to automate in order to reduce humans. I automate to give humans more time to do valuable work, and that's the real win. Look, where do businesses get this wrong? That's what we also need to talk about. They've added tech, but customer satisfaction hasn't improved. The team's still busy and it's not making any progress. Clients are basically falling through the cracks because the systems become too rigid, or you've cut costs and it's causing stress levels to rise. These are red flags that you should be looking out for in your business. And then you need to think about how you're going to do it. You need to switch your mindset. Efficiency and effectiveness, they have to be blended together, that all-important thread of effectiveness. Where do you start with all of this? God, really difficult to think about those sorts of things, isn't it, sometimes? As how do we get started? I'm so busy. Look, I'm a huge advocate of whiteboards as well. Map out your customer's journey. Find out where those friction points are. Listen to those questions that are being asked time and time again. And don't just think about how fast work is being done. Look at where people are getting stuck. The other thing is empower your frontline staff. Give your team authority to solve a problem, not just follow scripts. I have this mantra at work, is that rather a decision was made and it was wrong than no decision was at all. That's a huge statement to make as a business owner, and you've got to have kind of policies and procedures to kind of help people to make those effective decisions. But that's the way to do it. Otherwise, nothing moves. You end up with pinch points. Automate to add value and not to replace it, ultimately. Ask yourself questions like, does this tool actually improve the customer's experience, or is it just shifting workload? It must improve the experience, because that's the thread of effectiveness. And yes, efficiency will come, hopefully, but effectiveness is the all-important thing. Look, back to my GP very quickly. It's that whole system that I talked about at the start. It worked not because it was fast, it's because it was well designed. They knew the goal: to get the patient to the right professional as quickly as possible with as little hassle as possible. And if they can resolve the problem, then it's gone out of their workflow. It's resolved, then they've got more capacity. What if your business worked like that? I hope this video has given you kind of some food for thought about your own systems, how you can maybe think about effectiveness and efficiency. And if you're looking for more strategies like this, drawn from experience, not just textbooks, then please do hit the subscribe button, like the video. Please leave me a comment as well. This is AskJT, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.